here we go. Now we're going to transition to the Pivot Podcast. I'd like to invite our friends coming up. We've got Ryan Clark. We've got Fred Taylor. We've got Channing Crowder. These guys are the best. They're going to entertain us for the next 30 minutes. Really great to have you all here. Good to see you, Ryan. All right. Good. Hey, Fred. Good to see you. I know. Hey, Channing. Good to see you. Watch all you guys.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys joining us.
Yes, sir.
Well, hello. How are we today? I tell you what, when you get up here, it is super bright, so we can't see any of you. If you make a face or you laugh at us or you're not enjoying what we're saying, it's okay because we just won't know. Also, too, it's extremely intimidating when they put up this whole hour to talk.
Yeah, the countdown.
I don't like
right
that.
here.
I don't like the countdown thing, but Channing's up here. He's extremely long-winded, and so I'm sure we can fill it out. But what we'll do first, I'm Ryan Clark. This is Fred Taylor. This is Channing Crowder. We are The Pivot. I'll allow everyone to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about not only their journey through sports, but also family and business. And then we have a special guest for you because we figured if you don't like us, everybody likes this guy. And so we'll get to him later.
Got it, Freddie?
So I guess I'll go first. How's everyone doing today? Clap if you're ready to go home. I guess not. No, I'm Fred Taylor, 13-year NFL vet. I played 11 years in Jacksonville.
Hall of Fame semifinalist today, by the way.
I played 11 years in Jacksonville, 2 years in New England. I was never much of a speaker. Somehow, I don't know how I'm here doing a podcast in this media space with these guys. My wife, every day, she tells me how proud of me she is due to the fact that I speak more nowadays. And I don't know, but it's hanging out with these guys that actually give me the drive to continue to, try to be successful in this second career is what I like to call it. And yeah, I was just a decent football player.
More than decent. More than
You
decent.
told me no cussing.
I said
You ain't put the T at the end.
I didn't put a T. It's
Okay.
S-H-E-E-D.
Okay, so I can leave letters off if I cuss. If I leave some letters off, we're good to go. No, I'm Channing Crowder. Played for the Dolphins for 6 years. Hey, thank you so much. Wasn't as good as football at these guys or our guests, but I did, speaking of the media innovators, I did understand entertainment, and I would say I used the media, like I almost mocked them when I played, and it was just funny to me. Like I didn't know I was going to transition this, didn't know I was going to have a radio show, didn't know I was going to have one of the best podcasts in the world. But the two stories that it clicked to me when it happened when I was playing was I played in the first international game against the Giants in London, and the Giants beat us. It was a terrible game. Those soccer fields are all slippery for them little itty-bitty soccer players, but it was, so when I knew they were going to ask me something about London because that was the story of the game, was the first international game. And my answer, premeditated, just to mess with the media in the locker room, was I don't even know where London is. I have a friend named London Fletcher, but he's black, so I know he's not from London. And I was just like, it was all in jest, and it was funny, and it made, nationwide news about just messing with the media. And so that, I was like, At that point, I knew second time we played in Denver. You play in Denver, going to ask about the altitude. Oh, how you think you're going to adjust to the altitude? How are you going to adjust to the altitude? I said, I climbed on my roof and did some push-ups, so I'll be ready to play in Denver because I was used to the high altitudes. And it made national news. So at that moment, I was like the entertainment factor where really media is entertainment. Yeah. It's football. Nobody would make 70,000 people to get in a stadium, 100,000 people to watch kids play football. You want to be entertained by the best in the world, so to be there and understand that this is all entertainment, multi-billion-dollar entertainment. Mm-hmm. And that's what this media side is of it, is that we can transition sports to entertainment. And I didn't know everybody's like, hey, you have a communication degree? I'm like, to talk? I talk to humans my whole life. I'm fine. Yeah. But it was the entertainment side that I always had, and I kind of adjusted to that throughout my career, and then the transition to radio, TV, podcasting, and all of that stuff. And that's the main thing. You got to be entertaining. That's my cheat code, I guess you'll say.
Yeah, he's definitely entertaining. You should see him. You should see him when the cameras aren't on. He's actually even better. But we feel blessed, and we're grateful to be here at the Sports Business Journal, Media Innovators. I don't know when Alicia, who's our producer, called me and told me that Channing Crowder wanted to FaceTime me, that I could ever expect that this is what would have come from it. He was in his backyard in some oversized black Jordan shorts that since that FaceTime I've seen 17 more times. I don't know if he has multiple pair or if this is the same pair. And he don't really wash like that. So
Man, I've gone green. I don't watch that much.
But this is what it turned into. I remember our first show, not necessarily knowing exactly how things would go, how everything would play out, what our roles would be on the show. And they kind of just took shape from there, talking about their previous experience in podcasting and having opportunities to ask them questions. We shot our first show with a guest that night that we ended up not putting out until 6 weeks later. And you fast forward that and you're having opportunities for Channing to talk about nudist colonies with Kevin Hart, or to have The Rock speak to us about times of depression in his life, which from the outside looking in almost seems perfect at times. Fast forward to whatever side you're on politically, 3 former football players having an opportunity to sit with the former president. I think that's what's been very exciting about this journey. That's what's been, at least for me, extremely fulfilling about it. And I work a ton, whether it's Monday Night Countdown or hosting Inside the NFL, Fridays on ESPN, Get Up, First Take, all of those things. I don't do anything that I find as invigorating as this because we own it. It's different when you get that opportunity to have that sort of creative control, but also control in general on whether something succeeds or fails. I think when you leave the football field, the worst thing about life for me is I never know if I won or lost. Like, I think a lot of people are scared of losing. I'm not, right? Because losing lets me know I need to be better. The hardest part about the media space for me was the subjectivity of the way our jobs are viewed, right? You got to just listen to the people. And some people may think you're great at your job, but you said something that they didn't like. So now you're not great at your job. That doesn't make sense to me, but that was the way it was. But in doing this and allowing people to tell stories, allowing people to create or give you the perspective of their story from the way that they see it, that's been a beautiful piece of it. I do want to ask you before we bring up our guests, what to you has been, Fred, the most difficult part about not only the production of a podcast, but the business of podcasting?
I think the most difficult part, well, actually with you guys, we haven't had many difficulties, right? I think coming from the original place we were, Channing and I, and then coming over and starting to pivot with yourself, I think the difficulty there was the lack of transparency in our business approach. What we decided to do once we started to pivot was say, look, everything's gonna be fully transparent, black or white. Then that allowed us going forward to not have those issues. But just to give you a simple answer, I think the most difficult part is getting on the flight each and every week. I think we fly about 45 weeks out of the year just to do this show, and RC's on the plane each and every day. But no, it's been a smooth transition. We continue to learn as we go forward. And I always tell people all the time, as a former athlete, I was always fans of other athletes. I think you have to be a fan of others' work and what they do, even in an entertainment space. So to get an opportunity to really just have a conversation with some people that I either looked up to, some people I admire, some people that I was curious about, et cetera, it's cheat code, So it's our job to just continue to create a safe space and just have transparent and authentic conversation. And it really makes it simple. Just like sitting here, going by the bar here after this and just talking to one of you, that's the approach we have with our guests. And that's why the pivot is what it is, because no one's afraid to open up. So I wouldn't say there's been much difficulty before we got started. We said, this is what it's gonna be. We got the business part of it out of the way right at the door. And we've just been able to have smooth relationship, not always smooth. We have moments where If RC's passionate about something, we go and we figure it out. Maybe initially I don't disagree with it, but you know, we get to the point where he would say, look at it from this scope. Like, all right, that makes more sense. And then in the long run, it does. So, and that's part of business, but overall, I think we work great together, and everything's been really, really good.
The easiest part of podcasting is when we actually sit down. It's podcasting.
Yeah.
It's actually like, this is our setup. It's, you know, it's full and the cameras and all of there. But once we sit down with another human, the dynamic of us made it. Our dynamic. You can't just throw, that's what I say. They're like, hey, I got a podcast. People come to me all the time and say that. Hey, I got a podcast. Okay, keep it going, buddy. Like, I don't know what to tell you. So once we sit down with somebody, I think it's easy. But to Fred's point, the travel, and honestly, the fourth seat really should be Elisa Zubikowski.
Yeah. She's
our producer, editor. She runs everything. She sets up the travel. She does so much behind the scenes, and we're the face of. So AZ's back there in the corner.
Not that we don't like Ocho.
She don't like a lot of attention, but yeah, she's right there with blonde hair right there back in the corner. So y'all say hey to her. But she does so much too. But it's the grind. It's the getting on the planes. It's the flying around. It's the post-edit, which is crazy. The pictures, the thumbnails, all that stuff that is done. But the grind is something that I knew these guys had before. And we can grind easily. We'll call and say, hey, we got to jump on a flight, fly to L.A. I've flown to L.A. from Miami at 6 a.m., been in L.A. for 4 hours, and flew back to Miami. I'm in there for 11 hours, and I was in L.A. for 4. No problem. Then I can make it to my son's baseball game. And I know these guys, and I know AZ has the same work ethic. So when those people do come up to me and they see us in the airport and they're like, hey, love the podcast, I love your success, man, it's amazing. You know, what's the cheat code? Especially when there are a lot of young people in here, so it's good. Young people are lazy. Those are millennials, X and Z's and Y's and all those letters they call each other. They are lazy. They don't want to work. We haven't missed a show on Tuesday in, 2.5 years?
Yeah. The only time we didn't put out of a show was the Tuesday after DeMar Hamlin, because we had Travis Kelce and we wanted to be respectful of what everybody was going through.
Of the situation. But we'll never be like, oh, no, okay, we can't do it. We got to grind and got to go. So I would say that's the hardest part is the grind, but I knew early on, I know now that our team and what we have, they're going to grind. And there's no lazy in any of us. So the hardest part for us is probably the cheat code that, hell, we're not lazy. I don't know if y'all have young kids, but tell them don't be lazy.
Yeah, I would say the hardest part for me is the fact that I didn't want to repeat outfits on the show in the beginning, but I also didn't realize we do like 100 shows a year, right? So my thing was like, okay, because this junk lasts forever, right? Like they could go back right now and watch Shaq, which we did early on in, the show. And I'm like, what was I wearing? Because to those people, I'm wearing that the next 10 years. And so at first I was like, man, okay, I'm going to get these sweatshirts. And I'm going to get these shirts. And now I'm like an old man. I only wear Pivot apparel on the show because you can't tell me I'm wrong for wearing something that got the name of the show that I damn own on it. Right? And so what if they've seen the same black polo 4 weeks in a row? It's my work shirt, So like that was a problem early on, but it no longer is. I would think the hardest thing is, in whatever business you guys are in, or just being the business and the brand yourself, it's the want for other people to see the worth in what you do the same way you do. Right? We always have the conversations, whether it's sponsorships or partnerships, because it's a different way that you make money doing this. It's how can you feel like you have the best show consistently and you're constantly putting out great work and other people don't see it the way you do? That when you partner with people, you're sponsored by people, the work that you put into allowing this brand to grow isn't the same. And so I believe the marketing of what we do, having the right conversations with the correct people from a business standpoint, I think that was the most difficult part for me to learn, because I'd always been kind of my own entity, in the sense of you play football, you'd be like, hey man, just turn the film on, you see what I do. Even when you work individually as an analyst, you understand that you're going to negotiate with whatever networks or whatever brands you're working with simply based on what you do and sort of how you produce in each and every opportunity. And so I think to me, that's been different. And they know this. Initially, they wanted to get on a call every week. And I was like, bro, ain't no way I'm talking to y'all every week after we film shows every week.
I love you.
I was like, I love you too. I was like, there's no way we're going to, do business that way. So it quickly got to the point to like, they only call me for the business part when it's really important. But I've gotten more involved at the learning from Fred, who's very savvy when it comes to business, that when you own a company, you have to be a part of those conversations. No one is going to understand what you're doing or care about what you're doing the way you do. And so to me, that's been sort of the biggest adjustment. Because like they said, doing the show is pretty easy. Can they hear me? No? Hello? We're going to move it up. Hi. But we talked about the fourth chair. Let me tell you what the first phone call was, right? I got a phone call from Channing. He was FaceTiming me from his backyard. For some reason, he kept pacing. And he was like, it's going to be me, you, Fred, and this one other person. And I was like, oh, that's super cool. We can have all of these great conversations. And like, this guy is funny, right? He's smart. He's charismatic. I mean, just everybody loves him. And even when you played against him, you loved playing against him because he was going to have fun. And so I was like, man, this would be great to do a show with those three. It'll be amazing. And he basically pump faked us, right? He did one show with us, and the show was absolutely amazing. But I was like, why doesn't this guy want to work with me? Well, what I find out is he actually does want to work with me, because now he's an analyst on Inside the NFL along with Chris Long and Bill Belichick. He has one of the best shows going with Nightcap along with Shannon Sharp. To me, he's a Hall of Fame talent, but more than anything, he's been a great friend, and he is just amazing to be around, and the same sort of person every single time you see him, and that's Chad Johnson.
How you doing? You good?
Oh, man, you good?
What's up, Chad?
They hear you.
Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? I need you to do me a favor. I normally hug people when I walk in, but since I can't reach everybody, can you just repeat after me, please? Can you repeat after me, please? Yes. I fucking love you. Thank you.
Wait, time out. Alicia, you told us we couldn't curse, so you let Chad curse?
Told me no cussing.
So
That's my
I feel
love language.
like it's different when you say I love you with it though. It's like a different. You curse
goes both
differently.
ways.
It doesn't go both
It's
ways.
aggressive.
You do
Aggressive.
curse very aggressive.
Chad is also used to getting fined,
Yeah.
but he's far removed from being fined.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'm not good with following rules.
You're doing better actually.
Somewhat.
You're on time.
Yeah.
I see you went to Zara.
Yeah, my pants don't fit though.
That was the woman section?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about your H&M habit and just tell the people about the fact that you went to H&M and you spent a very low amount of money to buy all of your outfits for the show this year?
Well, for those of you that don't know about me, I'm very cost efficient. To give you better context, the first 2 years of my NFL career as a rookie, I stayed at the Bengal Stadium for the first 2 years. All the amenities, I had everything I needed: cafeteria, food, players lounge, couch, sofa, cable TV. I had a pinball machine, Xbox, and a PlayStation at the time. So to me, in my mind, there was really no point in buying a place or renting an apartment or buying a house if everything I needed was right at work. So I made the most of that opportunity as a rookie, and I think it was year three. Year three, Marvin Lewis, he threw me out and said, you need to be a man at this point. You need to be responsible. This is the NFL. And they forced me to get a place. So forward to now, and me being very cost efficient and probably the cheapest NFL player that has ever lived, H&M is my go-to, where I can get outfits. I got this from Zara like 30 minutes ago for $80. And I've just always been that way, especially when it came to money. And I remember one thing my grandma always taught me, and she always said, a fool and her money shall soon part ways. And it's always stuck with me. And I look at the people that I've grown up around. I've looked at former NFL players, especially during my tenure, before my tenure, and everyone has seemed to run out of money for some reason. So it's always been a habit, and that's an area I'm very, very disciplined in.
Chan, can you talk to me about what happened with your first check from the NFL, did you also save that the way that Chad did? You're signing.
It was already gone. I was so dumb. Listen, you learn. See, I didn't have your grandma. I needed your grandma because I was going in the first round. That's what they told me. Mel Kiper doesn't know what he's talking about because he told me I was going in the first round. And I looked at the first round. I said, I'm going to do 20 and 32. That's at least $8 million. So I went to Lords of London, who already had my my injury settlement. If I got hurt, they had money. So I'm like, we already have an agreement. Give me this loan. So they gave me $1 million. This is when you can leave as a sophomore in college. $1 million. I just turned 21 December 2nd. This is January 3rd. I'm 21 in 1 month. And somebody gave me $1 million. I spent $380,000 of it, thinking I'm about to make $7 million. Yeah, y'all had his money back. When I went 70th overall and got a check for $580, I called Lords of London, was like, hey, we're good because I don't have the money that I thought I was going to have, so just let's scrub this whole contract. They're like, that's not how loans work. I'm 21 in 1 month. I don't know how this works. You just gave me $1 million. It's your fault. So it didn't work out. Man, I bought 2 cars, all kind of foolishness. I bought a Rottweiler, a big-ass snake. I was, unlike Chad, I was the guy that you thought was the guy that gets $1 million and about to make it in the league. But I had to learn and bounce back from that. So I wish Ocho, who we right there, we live in Miami together and all, and he didn't pump fake us. He was honest with us about the podcast. When we asked you, we talked. We was at the little bar, and I was like, man, we moving over. RC's coming on. He was like, man, I do too much stuff. Like, I can't do that consistently, but I jump on whenever y'all want me to jump.
He has done that, and he's been great every time we had him. Fred, you had okay.
I just wanted to mention, unlike Chad, who was El Cheapo, and Channing, who hung out at a lot of adult establishments, he failed to mention that part.
What are you talking about?
With your first contract.
Oh,
Like
when I went and helped the senior
You
citizens.
used to excessively tip.
and single moms.
Yes. Unlike these guys, with
I
their
support single mom.
so what Chad did with his first contract and what Channing did with his first contract, I, on the other hand, the reason I'm so passionate about learning and maneuvering through the business space, and it was very important, I was reminded from the other podcasts that, you have to button up your business affairs first. My first contract, I signed it. It was a $5 million signing bonus in 1998. And my agent, who I trusted with everything because I looked at him as a father figure more than a business partner, I just handed it over. They took that money and they invested it into an offshore Ponzi scheme in the Cayman Islands. And from that day forward, 2 years after the fact, the scheme was exposed, that it was a pyramid scheme, and my money was frozen. They arrested Tank, took him to prison, and at that point in time, I started to say, all right, I had to ask questions about business. What can I do? How do I maneuver? Fortunately for me, during that time the money was frozen, the economy, 9/11 happened, and stock market crashed, and that money was frozen, so it was safe. So I was able to get that money back over 2 years after that. And I said, I need to learn more about business. I need to start, identifying potential threats, the guys that prey on young players. Then I hired another guy who, at the particular time, befriended me. And same thing happened, where we invested in what I believe was a great investment. And I didn't understand the laws in this different state. And it ended up not being such a great investment. Again, we were able to sue the firm, got those funds back. I said, third time won't happen. So I started to do more studying, and those things became important to me. And from there, I said, all right, any other business matters we go to, I want to try and make sure things are buttoned up. And with these two guys, we decided to do that. And again, that's a lot of reason why our show is also successful, because we don't have to worry about those little things. We just focus on the guests, great content. That way we know we're giving back and we're doing it, with everything in her. So that's what happened with my first country.
Man, everybody's robbing you.
I was thinking that too. Like, golly.
Man, give Ocho your money. God.
But you learn valuable lessons.
Yeah.
But also that's another reason why it's also important to, or for me, it's good to have the platform that we have, because I can give that message back to the younger players and hope that they can, navigate around those potential threats.
Well, I have no stories like that. They actually had money. All of these guys were drafted. I was not. My first check was $1,000, which came out to be like $653.37 or something like that afterwards, because I was an undrafted free agent.
Were you in New York?
Yeah, I was in New York. Why you?
Taxes had to be more than 40%.
No, that's all it was.
Wow.
I think I might have got less than that. I don't know. My mama still has the check
only $1,000
at her house, the stub. But I think what it taught me was work, though, right? Because essentially at that time I was still kind of going to work for free and having an opportunity to do something I really loved, with the chance to earn more money, with the chance to do it for a longer period of time. And that's sort of what this is like. This side of the media was like. When we decided to embark on whatever this journey is, we decided to put our own money into it. We said that we were going to travel. And you had to make that decision to yourself, thinking that it was going to work out in some way. But you definitely had to sow into it initially. And I think we did that, and now we've sort of parlayed that into what we do. But a question I want to have for Chad is, you say you made the decision that you were going to go do something differently because you were doing so much. You really had a lull in whether it was your media career, your public career. What was it that reinvigorated you, got you involved in Madden, got you involved in TV? Now you're doing the show Nightcap with Shannon. What made you throw yourself back into sort of the media platform?
I mean, I had a quiet lull. Obviously, during that time, during that lull of really not having any activity, whether it be media, podcast, whether it be TV. I mean, I prayed. I had no choice. I had no choice but to pray, and hope opportunity would present itself. And I think ESPN might have given me some type of platform to do something. And once that happened, anytime there's a camera rolling, I'm gold. I'm really gold when the camera's rolling. And once that happened, there was a trickle effect. And obviously, Doug, who's been almost, I'm not going to call him God, but he's been God sent for me, and being able to transition in the way I have and having all the things I have going on to this point. It's been a blessing. And now I like to always say, like my grandma say, now my cup runneth over with opportunities. And with those, I'm just taking advantage of them, understanding that I won't get another chance. I won't get another shot. So I'm taking advantage of everything I possibly can at this time. And obviously, I'm very, very media savvy, and used them to my advantage when I was playing, and understanding the entertainment aspect of the game. So the entertainment aspect that I brought during those days, it was able to make the transition for me a little easier, despite the ups and downs, despite the turmoil, despite the obstacles I had to climb over to get to this point.
Why do you cut all your hair off when you can actually grow hair and have a fresh edge up?
No.
Well,
No.
See, like why? Like, why? Look, my man really feel you, because he ain't got no hair neither.
Well,
Like, what?
Yeah!
So why, Chad?
I mean, I don't like maintenance. I don't like maintenance. I mean, those of you that have hair out there, young ladies that have hair, I don't like to wash. I don't like to put on wave caps. I don't like to do anything as far as my hair is concerned. I like to shower, but I just want to be able to shower and just get up and go. And it's just so easy when you just get a bald head. And it makes me look younger. I look 23.
Fred, why did you cut your hair bald?
Well, I didn't have a choice. I wanted to, like Chad, the maintenance. I didn't want to continue to pay a barber full price for half a hair of head. So it just makes sense to cut it all off, and I can do it myself twice a week, right?
Yeah.
Get it nice, clean.
Have you seen the prices for barbershops?
Look, I went in a barbershop and I paid $45 to cut all my hair off.
And then they want you to tip.
Yeah. The guy tried to charge me $150 for a house call.
No.
Yeah.
Fred, charge you $18 to cut all that hair off.
$45.
And that had to be half price, because that's half a head of hair.
I cut it myself.
Unlike both of you guys, I just travel with my barber now. because
Rich, wealth.
it's not that, man. It's like I don't know how long I'm gonna have this head of hair, and I want to use it to its fullest potential. And also too, I ain't got it like that. So if they push me back, if I get a bad haircut, I could be looking like y'all two.
Well, not really, because they have Hair Club for Men. They have implants. They have so many different things.
I'm not finna do the LeBron. Hey man, you can't hold on to it when it doesn't want to be held on to.
That's a good one.
Hey, fellas, I don't know what y'all are talking about. I get out of this conversation.
Is it that, RC, or is it really that you're on television every single day? Even Obama said he wakes up, you're on television first take. He goes to sleep, you're on television, whether it's Monday night, inside the NFL, or what have you. Or let me ask you a different question. What's your approach?
Oh, I think I need to be better about having an approach. At first, I just enjoyed talking about football, and I thought it was really a blessing that someone would pay me to do it. And I was the first active football player to have a TV contract. And I'll be honest, to me, that felt like there was going to be this natural progression to the biggest jobs at the network, right? Because, hello? Can you hear me? Because, think about this. Like, GMs don't want to be wrong. You draft a guy in the first round, you want him to be a Hall of Famer. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So my thing was, they paid me to be on TV while I was still playing. They're going to want to see me succeed, right? They're going to want to. You're a good man. Thank you very much. Hello. Perfect. I feel like they were going to want to see me succeed, but here it was. I was working extremely hard, and other people were getting certain jobs and getting opportunities that I wasn't. And so I had to kind of figure out, okay, how do you play the game? All three of you have been around me. I'm not good at that, right? I'm not good at faking like I'm your friend. I'm not very good at behaving like I want to be around you when I don't. And so my only calling card is how hard I work, right? It's how much I produce, how much I can give to a show from a production standpoint, a creativity standpoint, a directing standpoint. And so that, my approach is to make myself as valuable to the people who are truly in the know as I can. So that means being available, right? That means when I'm available, that means being attentive. And then while I'm being attentive, that means being productive. And so that is the way I approach it. And to be totally honest, I probably once I left high school, at points in college, I've never been, at least in the pros, I was never the best player on a team, right? I was never the best player in my actual room, right? Sean Taylor was the best player in my room when I was in Washington. Troy Polamalu was the best player in my room when I was in Pittsburgh. I've been the best player in a lot of these rooms, right? In this part of my life. And so to me, it's, if I believe this and I work that way, I need to make sure the things that I achieve, right, the things that I acquire match the effort and the talent that goes into it. And so that's my approach, man. Just to be honest, and no offense to anybody, if I'm on inside the NFL, as much as I want everybody to do great, I want to kill everybody on the show with me. If I'm on NFL Live, as much as I want everybody to be great, I want to kill everybody on the show. Monday Night Football. When I do this, yes, part of our show is that I want to be able to set Chan up. I want to be able to set Fred up. I want to put the guest in the best position to give us his stories or her stories in the best possible way, because we've put them in a place that they have a comfort level to do that. But when people leave our show, whether they're the guest or they're watching it, I want them to be like, there's nobody who prepares more than he did for this show. And so I think for me, it's not about the destination of the success. It's what I put in to get there. And when you do that, most times you have that success. And when you don't, you get to know it wasn't your fault, right? Same thing about football. When I went to the stadium, I was going to be as prepared as I possibly could to stop Chad Johnson. I was going to know when we were going to cloud him, when we were going to double him. I was going to know how to disguise to make Carson or Andy think they had him. And if he caught a ball, I could be like, that damn Chad Johnson just good as hell. But it was never I wasn't prepared. And I think that's kind of been my approach to this. I think the question I'd have for Chan is, how do you continue to be the authentic you that's funny, that's engaging, that's charismatic, that kind of like, I don't know what he's going to say, but then also build the brand that I know of you, that this dude's extremely intelligent and thoughtful. How do you kind of balance between that? Because I think that's important when people look at you and want to think how multifaceted and diverse you could be.
Yeah, and that's something I'm still working through it, because y'all seen a house party? I brought it up recently on the show, where there's a thing with Bernie Mac, God rest his soul, where he told Kid, be yourself. If people don't like you for being yourself, then F them. And it's a crazy way to think, but who else can you be? Everybody else is taking type approach. So I approach everything in that way, but now I'm moving into bigger spaces, moving into different rooms, moving into those areas like you do. And I'm country. I'm from Roswell, Georgia. Like, there was nobody that said Channing Crowder was about to be sitting here at SBJ talking to y'all very, very smart, rich people. So, like, it's a whole thing. So I just really come and be real and talk my truth. But I do know that I have to adjust. Like, I have a radio show in South Florida where I have to stop cussing. And that's why we joked about cussing, because everybody was like, Chan, like, don't be up there cussing. I'm like, okay, I got you. I can pull it back. But I have to continue to work on it, but also make them respect that young kid raised by a single mother. My experience has created me. Your experience created you. Your experience created you. And y'all always bring it up. You bring up, I love Mike. I love your parents. I know a bunch about your grandmother and how you came up. I know a bunch about your mom and Hurricane and your grandma and all. Like, it's funny that just listening and knowing these guys, where you are from and what brought you up is where it is. And that's the genuinity that people love from us. I can go up there and read a script. I can do a teleprompter. I know how to read, not that well. I dropped out of college, but I can read decent. But it's just that you have to be your genuine self, but also know the rooms you're in, also know the situations you're in. And that's the thing where I couldn't teach anyone to do what I've done. I can't teach anybody to be me. And that's why I think it works. But I could tell you why I am successful in these different areas of life and just continue to go with it. And I know it's a lot of different people in the sports media, and if those young guys, I would say the young guys that you see, like you bring up Doug, if you know those young guys that they're personable, they're entertaining, you can see it. You can see if they walk in a room and people light up. And it was always that way with me. When I walk in a room, everybody lights up. If I'm walking into the vet office, the gas station, the thing, I can make anybody smile. So let me do that at a grander level and just be myself, be the country dude I am, but also know if I'm at the JCC. I know there's jokes at the JCC that I can't tell when I'm at the strip club, that I can tell the strip club jokes, not at JCC. Like, I can navigate those rooms in so many different ways and still have the country, and I call it country dumb. Really, I watch the movies. I'm a movie guy. Ray Charles said it, country dumb. People don't, when you talk country and you have a twang, they anticipate you're unintelligent. And I was National Legion of Honors, Legion of Scholars, 3.8 at Florida, 4.0 in high school, all of that stuff. But you just hear me talk and, oh, he's unintelligent. And now I have an advantage in that room because you already put your guard down, because you don't think I'm smart. So now you're not going to take to your top level, because now you're coming down further, and now I've surpassed you just because I have a country accent. It's the craziest thing in the world. I've seen it. I'm 40. I'll be 41 next month. I've seen it for 41 years, and I just try to navigate it, bro. But I'm not great at it. I just know the strip club jokes don't go well over the JCC.
I think we should stay away from that. Chad, what is? I didn't really know how to transition, guys. A lot of times I got something smooth and I can get right out of something and right into the other thing, but I didn't have it that time, so I was just honest with y'all. Chad, what is your goal now with your media career? Because you are doing so much. You have your hand in so many different pots. What is something that, looking forward, you would love to do?
You know what? My end goal, I haven't even looked that far down. Obviously, my vision, my long-term vision, you're always supposed to have short-term goals, and you have long-term goals. Right now, my eyes are always set on the short-term goals, always completing those first before I look down the road. Because if I look too far ahead, when I haven't finished my plate that's in front of me, I'm gonna starve myself. So everything for me has been one day at a time, and it's worked that way. As far as the media spaces are concerned, there's so much more work I need to do. There's so much more. That's why I like working with you, because I want to be able to remain my authentic self, but also be able to go in rooms like you do, to be able to be on Monday Night Football and be able to break down plays, that sort. Obviously, you do it on the defensive end, but I need to be able to do it the way Dan Orlovsky does it when it comes to the offensive football. So there's so many other ways or room for improvement in that specific space. As far as Nightcap, now that's just me. I can just be myself. Like the skies is a limit for any area where I can just be Ocho, where I can just be Chad. So that ain't no telling where that gonna go. But as far as other areas are concerned, I'm not even thinking long term until I get the shit right first.
Love that. Freddie T, I've watched you open up, right? You've gone from, by the way, Fred is the sex symbol of the show. I'm not sure you guys know this. There is no auntie that works at any airport that's not walked up to me and going, I love your show. And ooh, that Fred.
Where's Fred at? I don't know where Fred
Yeah, where Fred at? Do you think we live together?
Where
Like,
Fred at?
he's at his airport, I'm at my airport. At some
are
point, we'll
crazy.
be in the same place. And they always tell him I said, hey, ma'am, I'm not going to remember you. But what I do now
I'm so
is
used to this.
I write them down. I'd be like, Auntie Sheila said Fred looked good. Auntie Marie said, and that's how we roll. And so we push Fred out first because that's how we get it to buildings for free. But the question I want to ask you is, you've opened up.
Push me out.
You go
See,
first.
so they always say I am the oldest on the show, but they tell a lot of lies. I'm 48, but they say I played with Dick Butkus and all these other people. You don't roll me out because I think there's a negative connotation in that.
Your main
You're
rival was
implying that
Jim
I'm
Brown.
in a wheelchair. I'm not in a wheelchair.
The Cleveland Browns were trying to figure out, was it Jim Brown or you? It was a difficult decision.
Who did you say I played against? What's his name?
Y.A. Tittle. Vince Lombardi was about to draft him before the Jags got him.
Go ahead.
No, I was just, well, I guess people may want to know what was it like to play against the Dallas Cowboys when they had Roger Staubach.
Can we get back to the question, please?
Hey, but honestly though, opening up the way you have, being someone who was not only quiet and observant, but even throughout your playing career, I feel like had you been more boisterous, it would have been easier for you to get into the Hall of Fame. What has it been like learning to open up and truly become a part of the media?
It goes back to, first of all, my rookie year. Our PR guy down in Jacksonville, Dan Edwards, the first thing he said when I approached the media was just be honest. You're always in control. You don't have to answer everything. Just be honest and be transparent. So even in that message in itself, that's the way I approach the media. I never shunned those guys. I was always, open. Guys, you can come to my locker and just have conversations. And I learned to trust the media, over the course of the years. And I learned to take control of the interview. Fast forward during my retirement, Dan called and he said, Fred, I want you to be a part of Jaguars Radio in our game day production. Pretty much a new deal that they were doing to try and get the fan base to rally around the team after so many conversations on whether Jacksonville would leave or not. I told Dan, no way. Ain't no way I'm doing radio. He was like, no, think about it for 2 weeks. He called me in 2 days. They had a flight for me to come to Jacksonville. He said, I'm not taking no for an answer. This is how it goes. Radio, you have to tell them what. Tell them what happened because they can't see it. You want to tell them what. If we're going to do a broadcast, you tell them why. Football, talk football as if we're all just hanging out at the bar or you with a family member at a bar. You want to tell them why. So I was like, that makes sense. He said, just be natural with it. Just go out there and just talk about the game as you see it. I was like, all right. So I gave it a try. That was 2012. Fast forward, we had an opportunity to do a podcast during the pandemic. And Well, actually, let me reverse. Over the course of those years, I just started to get more comfortable in my skin, just to talk when I have an opportunity, just to talk to people about everyday things, things that I'm passionate about. And it allowed me to start opening up, going back to having to talk to parents about contracts, business, all those different things. So I just started to get more comfortable in just talking to people. Going back to the opportunity with the podcast, I said, sure, an opportunity to get out the house. We're going to talk about sports, talk about life, etc. And that part was easy. So when the opportunity presented itself to do this, you know, at that moment, I felt more of a natural because we could just sit back and just talk, chop it up, and it became a lot easier for me. So it was really easy to open up. And looking back on my career, as you mentioned, RC, I have to be authentically myself. So I wasn't a big rah-rah guy. I wanted to get it done on the field and let it speak for myself. But I did learn that if you're going to be marketable, sometimes you have to learn how to do the Ocho Cinco dance and put on a big hat and get those people's attention. Because I think as we talk about the Hall of Fame, as Deion said it, it's not always about the Hall of Game. Sometimes you have to do a little bit extra to get the media's attention. And I was just never really that person. And I have a better understanding of how to market yourself, which brings me to the question of you, Chad. We're at the Media Innovators. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that you were ahead of your time? Because a lot of things, what you got fined for, these kids aren't getting fined for. And how would you be during this whole social media era?
I mean, the fact that I think it was better during my day. Now everything is accepted. You can celebrate, you can have fun. I enjoyed it better because I wasn't supposed to be doing it. That made it that much more fun. You know, knowing that Roger Goodell and Paul Tagliabue at that time said you couldn't celebrate, I would take it up a notch. I would always push the envelope. By the time we got to year 5, I would send the money in a week early to the league office just to let them know I'm not going to conform to how you think I should be. I'm going to remain my true, authentic self. And I think that kind of, I don't want to say it pissed them off, but I didn't care. The NFL runs on control. How do we control the players? So the way they control us is by taking what they think we value most, our money. So that's why they have a fine system. I didn't value the money. I value playing the game of football the same way I did as a little kid. So the fact that you're paying me millions of dollars is not going to change who I am because you're taking the money. I'm going to make it back up anyway at some point. And that's how it went. And now every time I see Roger Goodell, it's like a kid that was bad in high school, and he's still friends with the principal years later down the line every time we see each other. And
when you go to the office a lot, you do get close.
Yeah. Like, definitely.
But did you do it for the fans? Were you bucking the system?
It's entertainment. The game of football is entertainment. I'm not sure what the ticket prices are now, but let's say back then, if you're coming to watch the Bengals, during that time, we were bad. We were bad during that time. So if you pay $50 for a ticket, I'm going to give you $50 worth of entertainment. I'm going to make it worth your while. Whether we're losing or not, you're going to have a reason to come watch us play. And that's whether we're playing home or whether we're playing away, which I think I got so much grace from the opposing fans as well as those that I played for at home.
Okay, so we got 10 minutes. So really quick, your whatever advice you'd like to impart to the room of people who seem to have a lot of wisdom already, you have a minute and 30 seconds to do so, each of us, so we can get off the stage. So Alicia, stop texting me. This is supposed to be over at this time. You know how she get when he get close. She started turning her phone around to me. Do you see it? This is how much time is left. So you first, Freddie T.
For me, it's really just simple. Just being passionate about what you're doing, trying to be inspirational, having vulnerability. Me, I always try and be positive and lead with optimism, and just being, again, transparent. So for you, that if you weren't keeping up, I just that was an acronym for pivot, which is what we've always done. Passion,
I don't know if that's
inspiration, vulnerability, optimism, transparency.
Did you plan that before you got here?
No, I mean, that's
You ain't never said that before.
it's on our pivot page, right, AZ?
He thought of that on the Peloton.
Bro, you remember when Fred used
You know,
to do
but
the
that's
meetings
what
from the
it's about.
Peloton? And he'd be breathing all hard every time you ask him a question.
Great interview. I don't want no more Peloton.
But no, that's what makes it easy for me to be able to do this as, you know, act 2 of my career. So that's what it's about for me.
Me? You like this shit. This shit's cool. Kant, Camus, Plato, Aristotle. Who are those guys? Philosophers. Right? My philosopher is Lil Wayne. Y'all know who Lil Wayne is? He said something in a song recently that hit me when I was out there working out with my son. He said, I'm not racing, I'm just sprinting. And it made me think about how we approach things. All the top podcasts, you know, All the Smoke, who else? The Breakfast Club,
Nightcap.
Rogan, Wallow and Gilly. Yeah. We're friends with all of those people like this, like Uncle Shay and them, and we're not competing. We're not racing against them. We're all just sprinting in the direction of having success. So I know in life, like you can compare yourself to people. If you're, you know, you're financial this or whatever your job is, there's other people around you. If you're always looking to your right and left, you're not running straight ahead as fast as you can. Just do the most you can to go that way, and that's what we did. So I'm really like, people compare, and I don't hate the question. People ask questions all the time. So who are you? So what do you look at? And who? They want to ask your competition. And I bring up the same thing. I'm cool with Ocho and Shay Shay. I'm cool with Wallow and Gilly. I'm cool with Matt and Stack. I'm cool with them boys. We talk all the time. I'm not competing against them. We're all just running real fast, but we have no finish line to hit. Because if you have a finish line to hit, now you're going to slow down. With anything you do in life, I try to approach it in that way.
You got to ask me one more time.
Because you forgot, probably.
I did.
Yes. I love you so much. Just any advice you'd want to impart on a room full of people who, you know, who do the same thing that we do, who are involved in media, who are involved in business, sports, or whatever it is, a piece of advice they could take, whether it's whatever bucket that they want to pour it into.
For one, you got to be passionate. You have to be passionate about what you do. That's number one. Not only do you need to be passionate about what you do, whether it comes to business, whether it comes to media, you have to have a niche. You have to have a niche. Everybody in here probably does the same thing. I really don't know, but you have to have something that's special about you that separates you from the person around you. You know, there's something different about myself that separated me from the other 31 receivers that were number 1 receivers on the other teams. But you have to have one niche, just one. Everybody does media, but what makes you special in your area? You know, and obviously having the discipline. Having discipline at what you do is something that obviously you wouldn't be in these rooms if you didn't have that as well. But the one thing I can think about that I really want to harp on, which for me, is you have to be passionate. You got to love what you do. If you don't love what you do, you're fooling yourself and you're wasting your time. And that's pretty much it.
I love that. Find that one thing. I don't know who works out in here, or if anybody's ever been a ballerina or a dancer or an ice skater. Yes, I know you Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. Because you're a star that can dance.
Also, for those of you that are from New York, I was also part of Alvin Ailey Dance Company, and I did ballet. Thank you.
Go clap for him.
He might be lying.
Yeah, that's why I said don't clap for him. He just says things.
But he has the sweetest feet of a receiver.
He has the sweetest feet I've ever
Amazing
seen,
feet.
truly. But I brought that up to say is I don't know if y'all know like what spotting is, right? It's like finding this one thing to look at that allows you to do something that's extremely difficult and not realize how difficult it is, or not get dizzy, or not in some way fall off track from whatever that goal is, right? For me, it's a lot of times in doing single leg workouts and trying to figure out how I can stay on balance. And part of that is finding one thing to look at the entire time so I can focus. Because what happens is, whether it's life or work or anything that we want to accomplish, all of these other things become outside factors in us having an opportunity to reach our goal. And we have to be able to ignore those things. So there has to be a reason, there has to be a why, there has to be a way that we stay focused. And for me, it's always understanding that there's this one reason that I do it, and it could be whatever it is. I talk about Antonio Brown all the time. And if anybody knows about our relationship, it's both great and terrible at the same time. But when he played, he worked so hard. I knew his reasons for working hard were different reasons than mine. And they weren't necessarily reasons that I loved. They weren't things that I thought were sustainable. They weren't things that I thought made him a great teammate. But my goodness, did it make him a great player. And it made him work because he wanted those things or that thing so badly he'd do anything to get it, which in turn on Sunday made him the best wide receiver in all of football. And he was 5'10" and ran 4.5. And so whatever that thing is that doesn't make a hard day force you to quit, whatever that thing is that doesn't make someone telling you you aren't good enough make you believe it, find that thing. Whether it's a why, whether you want to do it to impress somebody, whether you want to do it to take care of somebody, or whether it's just an individual yearning within yourself to have something, do it for that reason, because everything that's worth accomplishing will be extremely difficult at some point. And there has to be something that's within that process that you could say, this was a hard day, but tomorrow I get to go out and do this for that reason. I can't tell you what that reason is, only you can. But when you find it, don't let it go until you get it, because you'll regret it the rest of your life. Freddie T has something.
I have one more thing. This might sound cliche, but it's the absolute truth. And I'll tell you, it's never too late to pivot. Because in the eyes of adversity, you're going to always have that in the back of your mind. So it's never too late to pivot at whatever stage in your life or at whatever moment. Just try and, move forward with that.
How long we got? You want to tell my rake story?
Your what?
Never mind.
Oh, yeah.
Rake. I got a rake story about raking leaves.
Go ahead, tell them. You got 3
It's
minutes
about
and
a 12
38
minutes,
seconds.
A 12-minute story. It's long.
Okay, good. Well, thank you guys so much.
Wait. We're done?
Yes, we're done.
Wait, excuse me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'll probably never, ever have a chance to meet any of you again if I don't see you. I just want you to remember, I fucking love you. All right.
And this has been The Pivot.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. That was fantastic. Great end to the program. That brings our program to the end. That brings The Pivot to the end. I want to thank all our sponsors for all of their support. They made this possible. Thank you very much.